Welcome to the land of the rising sun. Regardless of wherever Ramstein finishes today, Kevin Nielsen just needs to finish in second place. What a start it is from Kevin Nielsen.
Oh!
Banging doors. It is going to be Ramstein in position. The white flag lap. Kevin Nielsen to the outside line.
How are they keeping those cars together?
Kevin Nielsen is the winner. Nielsen from pole. Ramstein in second. Green, green, green. Off we go in Suzuka.
Oh, too late on the brake.
What a move. Ramstein surges past. Brian Locker just got double teamed.
One more lap to go.
This is the last chance. They make contact. They touch doors. At the end of the feature race, Kevin Nielsen is the PorscheSport Carrera Cup champion.
Hello race fans and welcome to the final round of the PorscheSport Carrera Cup live here from Sebring International Raceway. My name is Peter MacKay and joining me in the commentary box tonight for this final round of one of the best esports competitions anywhere in the world is Soumil Arora. Soumil, we've been treated to fantastic racing all the way through. And as if it's been put on for us especially, we're here at a circuit I know we both share a love for, Sebring International Raceway.
Oh yes, Peter. It's been a long while since we've been foreshadowing what can possibly happen at Sebring. And at last, we are finally here. It's so good to have you back on track here as well, Peter. I'm sure it must have been an amazing experience at the Nürburgring, but this one right here, I think it's going to be just as intense, just as crazy, but just a little bit less bumpy. Then I think Nürburgring would be a little bit less bumpy. That's what I meant to say. See, the excitement's getting me already.
Yeah, there's certainly two of the bumpiest tracks anywhere in the world, and certainly two of my favourites. Yeah, we're going to have all of the excitement of the Nürburgring 24 hours condensed into short 20-minute bursts, condensed and strongly intensified as well. So while I was away, we've had a champion crowned, I understand, Kevin Nielsen. What a performance he's had all through the season. His opening round at Mid-Ohio was just imperious, and he's really kept that run all the way through in this championship, and he's in line for a nice little prize payout as well, Soumil.
He is indeed, yeah. Kevin Nielsen winning so many races this year, came in and literally dominated the championship. And last time out, right, I was literally on the edge of my seat watching that battle between him and Maxime Ramstein. Of course, final race of the season, it's a bit of a shame that we don't have any championship battle in that case, but many other fights to look out to, especially in the AM category. But Kevin Nielsen, with him and Ramstein last time out, Peter, it was a lot like a tennis match, a lot like the Roland Garros final that we ended up seeing just a few minutes ago. Just constant a barrage of action and drama everywhere. Now, one driver makes a move, then the other one responds. Such craziness I don't think I've seen on the track for quite a while, honestly, and it was only fitting that Nielsen ended up winning the championship after winning that big battle.
Well, he certainly deserved it. He's won it from the front and he's won it in a battle. And of course, here on the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup, many of the drivers at the front of the field are, of course, either current Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup drivers or very much hopefuls for the next qualifying sequence for the next season. And well, the product we have here is quite a bit different than the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. Even though we use the same car, the heat race format, Soumil, throws up so many more variables in my view.
Oh, it certainly does. It's absolutely amazing, right? We often have these crazy races where everything is condensed down into 20 minutes. As you can see on the screen, only top 10 advance and the rest go to the consolation race. And that consolation race really is where the fun begins. You end up seeing new winners, new names come out there and show top performances, and eventually the big points are awarded in the feature race. That is where the fun really comes down to a close, and it's a format that's worked and it's a format that's delivered literally all the time, Peter. I don't think we've ever had a bad race weekend.
No, absolutely not. None. We've had some high action weekends where there's been a lot of argy-bargy, that's for sure. But we've not had bad entertainment, that is for sure. And of course, the drivers that have made their way to the top of the standings have been well rewarded with the very generous prizes on offer here, thanks to Simpower Leagues and PorscheSport as well. And there is your confirmation then. Kevin Nielsen comes into this final round at Sebring with an unassailable lead, and he's confirmed as your champion. 706 points plays Maxim Ramstein's 635. With 605 for Alexander Lauritsen as well. But you look in that top 10, Soumil, Kevin Nielsen, Maxim Ramstein, Sam Coitert, Brian Lockwood, all the way down the top 10, there are drivers who have all won races.
Exactly, all drivers that you could point out right there and say these guys can actually challenge for the championship. It's just some things have happened, right? When you look down after Alexander Lauritsen, you look at Sam Coitert, you look at Gonzo Tasdale and Violante Lockwood. All the time from the beginning, I thought that these names would be right there fighting for the championship, but each of them have had some of their bad luck. Sam Coitert, for instance, in Suzuka the last time out, he could have been a lot higher in the standings, could have been above Lauritsen and Ramstein, maybe, had he had a good race win right there. But unfortunately, Peter, his internet disconnected at the start of the feature race. It is things like that happening to all these drivers down below. That's the reason why they're not right there up in the top 3. But I can't be disappointed, right? All of them have had so many incredible battles throughout the season, and I think we're going to get another one, finally.
Well, indeed. Let's have a look at the team standings then to see how that shuffles out. At the moment, it's Team Anatolia leading by about 80 points, which in the context of the team standings is a relatively slender margin from Axe Sim Sport, with Roman Grosjean's RAG Junior Esports in third, Impulse Racing in fourth, and Racecraft Esports number 2 in fifth. Of course, Racecraft Esports, they've certainly come they've come here with strength in numbers, with lots of those black and gold cars on the track.
Yeah, they have, but unfortunately for Racecraft, it's been a bit of a shame really that quite a few of the drivers have not found the real the better side of the luck, let's put it that way. So many of them facing issues, so many of them crashing outright. Lockwood and Quinton Violante have always been right at the very top, but when you consider someone like Nick Harwood or Kane Halliburton or even Suelo Almeida for that matter, always finding themselves in the wrong places on the track, in that tricky midfield where they haven't quite got the chance to capitalize on that, which is why you see them in that position where they are. But credit where it's due. Team Anatolia and AXS Sim Sport, even though AXS Sim Sport have seen quite a few drivers depart in the form of Lauritsen and in the form of Kevin Nielsen, still right up there, still quite strong, and their drivers have delivered all year round. Lauritsen in P3, Nielsen the champion.
Yeah, Nielsen the champion indeed. Well, we will be getting ready for the opening sprint of the race very soon. So let's have a look at the track information, because Sebring International Raceway is such a gem of a circuit, one of the classic circuits of global endurance racing. 3.7 miles in length, 17 turns, and well, you have lots of fantastic overtaking opportunities around this circuit. We have to go through the very fast blind left-hander of turn 1, and then you sometimes make a move into turn 2. You can see that there as well. But one of the major points is turn 6, the hairpin, about halfway around the lap. Then you sweep through all the way through the Fangio chicane, Cunningham Corner, Collier Tower, Flying Fortress Straight, which is a very, very short one, Bishop Bend, Hendebian Bend, and then through Le Mans and onto the Ullman Straight, named after Alec Ullman, who really, it was his brainchild to bring global endurance racing to America, and it was Sebring that they chose. A former wartime airfield, and well, it hasn't changed a great deal since the layout of the circuit has, but the surface, Soumil, is wonderfully old school.
Wonderfully old school indeed. All hardcore and bumpy here at Sebring. And I was wondering, Well, this one is going to be a bit of a tricky one for them mentally, right? Because they're driving it on in a sprint race at Sebring. Firstly, you've got to contend with the incredibly hard car. Then you've got the drivers and then the bumps of Sebring. I think they're going to be walking away with a headache, but iRacing have been just a little more calming in a matter like this one. The recent updates have made the dampers slightly more soft in that case, so they can absorb the bumps a little bit more. So they won't have a real bad headache in terms of the bumps, but there are other things that can worry them quite a fair bit, most of which happens to be the amazing competition out here, Peter.
And of that, there is an awful lot. Well, at the moment, it's Gononzo Tastellan leading the way in qualifying by a tenth of a second. And, well, that means that Gononzo will start on pole position for the opening heat, with Quentin Violati on pole position for the second heat as well. So, we will go into the opening heat of the night. 20 minutes of racing, only 10 cars getting automatic entry through to the feature race. So here's how they line up then. Gononzo Tastellan and Quentin Violati will start on the front row, with Maxim Ramstein and Sam Koiter on row 2, with Kevin Nielsen and Brian Lockwood on row 3. Row 4 will be Kamil Grabowski and Senkin Sioglu, with Pascal Costa and Matthias Burke rounding out the top 10. Thomas Goldelion and Michael Pedersen will round out the 6th row, with Nick Harwood, Marco Jaeger, Justin Rem, Marcel Joachim, Alexander Hedmank and Lewis Ward rounding out the 9th row of the grid. Jaime Fierro, Clement Andriot, Martin Spalek, Martin Donati, Hendrik Lichtenhagen and Florian Lebiger round out the first 24 cars, with James Parker making it 25 in total. So, Soumil, a shortened group tonight than what we had at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen drivers drop off in numbers here and there, but that's only normal, happens all the time. But still, it doesn't mean that the quality is hampered by any way whatsoever, Peter, because we had a similar case in Suzuka, and I can honestly tell, this one at Suzuka was just insane. It was just the most dramatic stretch of racing that you could watch over a 2-hour period, and I was exhausted at the end of it, but amazingly satisfying. And Sebring apparently can offer better racing than Suzuka in that sense. So I think we're in for quite a show today. Even though the numbers might be less, the quality, well, that might be insane.
That I could not agree more, Soumil. You cannot be disappointed with racing at Sebring, this amazing historic venue. The first race here, all the way back in 1950, was in fact the place to hold the first ever F1 Grand Prix on American shores. But get this, the organisers that look after Sebring at the time, they were shall we say, disheartened by the amount of effort that went into it and the lack of, shall we say, commercial benefit, that they binned Formula One and it never came back, and they stuck with endurance racing.
Not a bad choice.
Well, yes, absolutely, but we would be biased, wouldn't we? That is for sure. But we're racing at Sebring, and Gononzo Tastellan leads us away over the start-finish line, heading towards turn 1 with the sun coming down here at Sebring International Raceway in Florida. As you see Quentin Violati look to the inside and gets past Maxim Ramstein, but it's Tastellan leads away early on here at Sebring.
A very good start by Tastellan right there, grabbing pole position and holding on to P1, and a big crash back there at the start. Now that isn't surprising, that had to happen eventually, but the scale of it.
Oh, well, it's Thomas Goldelion gone off there, the 103 car, but the rest of the field streak through down towards the hairpin. This is really perilous in the Porsche 911 Cup car. No anti-lock braking system, of course, so if you lock up, it's very, very easy, and you can see a few cars tearing off. One of the Impulse Racing cars going off there at turn 7 at the hairpin, but Tastellan still leads and goes to a little bit of a defensive move there into Tower Turn as they go on to the Flying Fortress straight. In fact, my apologies, I'm a couple of corners too early. Now we're going into Tower Turn, and then we'll go on to the Flying Fortress straight, because the Sebring International Raceway did actually host a fleet of Flying Fortress aircraft.
Now they'll be zooming past there, quite like them in a bit. But Ramstein is having to defend right there from Brian Lockwood. This is going to be a bit intense right now. And that's not Lockwood, that's Sam Coiter. And Coiter indeed gets the position up in the P number 3. Quite the unusual place to get it done, Peter. But with Coiter, you can never really tell when he's going to pounce on you.
He's got to move for every corner, as Sam Coiter. It must be his karting experience, I think. Three-time Dutch karting champion is Sam Coiter, the 28 car. You can tell he's the Dutch driver because he's the one with orange wheels. So playing up very much to the national colours of the Netherlands as well. But Tastelen leading away in this beautifully painted purple and gold machine for Team Anatolia, who have been really a revelation in this championship for the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup. But the ever-aggressive Quentin Violati hustling the back of Tastelen in the number 5 car. And you sometimes wonder if it's a when rather than if in terms of a move from Violati. And there goes Grabowski. Grabowski up the inside of Lockwood. Can he get the move done? He'll now have the inside line for the critical turn 5 on the go through turn 6 and into Gurney Bend. And down we go then. So 25 runners. So all this race then effectively, Soumil, setting the grid for the feature.
Absolutely. And now Pascal Coster wants a bit of this battle right now. Goes to the outside of Brian Lockwood. A bit of a home race, this one for Brian Lockwood, the Florida driver racing at his home circuit per se. I mean, he'll be at home any which ways, but still, Sebring would naturally be his home race. And Grabowski is having to fight back now because Lockwood has the edge on him. And Grabowski and Lockwood, this battle has just matured so beautifully in the last few races. I want to see the conclusion of this. I want to see which one of them eventually gets 7th in the championship.
Well, we'll see. It's been very much a bruising season for Brian Lockwood. He has had front-running pace and, of course, was imperious at Zolder with a feature race win there. But it just has not had the luck at all. Has been involved in a number of incidents, most of which not his fault. So really been a bruising experience for Lockwood, but he will be back. That is, make no mistake about that. He will be racing hard, and you can tell he's been enjoying, when the battles have been clean, he's really been enjoying them as well. So onto the Almond straight they go, up the gearbox, using all of those 485 horsepower from the flat 6 4-litre engines in the back of these Porsches, and it's such a distinct sound, Soumil. It could only be a Weissach built machine with a sound like that.
Oh yes, that's the sound of the straight 6 engines of the Porsche that we all know and love. And quite frankly, it wouldn't be Porsche without that sound right there. But the sound also matched up by just the trickiness of driving this car. And even more so for the drivers, Peter, because the new update has only come in, what, a few days ago from iRacing, when we had the new 911 GT3R as well. And some major changes have been added into the car. So you might be excused for having incidents like that one. Oh, what's happened here?
Dearie me.
It's Grabowski and Lockwood.
Oh, dear. And Pascal Costa has got by Grabowski. I think it was at turn 3 to go under the Corvette bridge, but I think we'll get a look at it in a moment. But Lockwood's poor fortune continues. It looked like it was a pretty big spin. Here's our Alcantech.com replay then. Runs a little bit wide on the exit of turn 1. That's very, very common. And here comes Grabowski. Poof, there he goes. Oh, Brian Lockwood. If we could give him a hug, we would, Soumil. If I wasn't in Scotland and you weren't in India, we would give him a hug, because, oh my goodness. What does he have to do? Take the magnets out the boot of that car, obviously.
Something, I don't know. I don't know if it's luck or whatever it is, but Lockwood recently not really enjoying his racing because of incidents. And there's another one, speaking of which. Pascal Costa has made the error this time out, and all of a sudden, Grabowski and our champion Kevin Nielsen are on the up, Peter.
That they are, yes. Barging their way through. Very carefully chosen adjective there. See the number 3 of Kevin Nielsen, our champion, in the shiny, super shiny wheels. Those are champions' wheels. So let's see what happened with Costa then. And whoa, I've got it. He said, I've got it. Oh no. Well, he's half got it. Coming through there through Tower Turn, you're trying to get the car turned to the right and slow it down at the same time, and without these anti-lock braking system, they're really easy to lock up a tyre there.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. It could be a lot more worse for Pascal Costa. He's still there in P number 12. And look at this one. There's been a move for the lead as Grabowski defends from our champion Kevin Nielsen. at the top, things are getting rather hot and spicy.
Oh, that they are, as Violati. Well, we said it would be a win rather than if. Violati has made his move, but it has cost him momentum, and Koiter, the assassin, smells blood and goes through, and the ever-patient Maxim Ramstein, he's just there assessing the whole situation at the back there, going, maybe if I let these guys just give each other a bloody nose, I can slip past and take the glory.
Oh yes, exactly, and knowing someone like Quinton Violati, right, this is a format that he would relish. Knowing that it's the final race of the season, knowing that there's no more races left, he can pounce, but there's an example of pouncing going wrong. One of the WIP.com Volante cars. Now, the Sim Racing of Volante cars, sorry, they changed their sponsors this season.
That is Justin Wren having a spin there at the, was that the hairpin? Round they go through Cunningham, named after Briggs Cunningham, who was such an important figure in the founding of the Sebring 12 Hours, and in fact it was going along with Briggs Cunningham to run an American effort at the Le Mans 24 Hours, which is what gave Alec Ullman the idea to bring a similar event to the United States, and thank goodness he did, because we have this amazing racing facility. So Tatsdalen still leads, and Koiter on the move, but he's got so much of a concern with Violati behind him that he's maybe not able to get his head down and press on and get onto the case of Tatsdalen. And of course, Tatsdalen knows exactly the game here as well, as Violati sticks his nose up the inside. That's not what you ever want to hear the commentator saying on a tannoy if you're a driver. Violati sticks his nose up the inside. Not good. Because he's just so aggressive, never shy, never backwards and coming forwards as Quentin Violati. Tatsdalen still leads, and he's not quite able to break away from Koiter, but you could see it there on the straight, Soumil. Tatsdalen trying to weave around to try and break that aerodynamic slipstream.
Yeah, and recently the slipstream has been worsened because of the iRacing update, so it's still a factor, not as much, but Tatsdalen recognizes and blocks things off. Pascal Costa, by the way, attacking Lewis Ward on his comeback. He fell back to P number 12, now he's already back up to P number 9. No, that's P8 that is, so he's already on a mission of sorts, Peter.
Oh yeah, he is. He's Lewis Ward, the number 197 in that black and red car. Having a big old battle here with Pascal Costa, no slouch, the ARA Porsche Cup vice-champion. Very, very strong driver is Pascal Costa, and he's been at the front of this championship for quite some time now as well. Lewis Ward, very much a driver with enormous potential, and just can't seem to quite get the rubs, but he's driving beautifully tonight and up into the top 10. And I tell you what, oh, puff of smoke, and Costa's gone wide. Oh, gone very, very wide. Big mistake there for Costa, which I think that was just the one after the hairpin. I think that was actually coming into Cunningham, a lock up there for Costa. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, he's been having a couple of them so far today, so whenever he gets the momentum, he ends up losing it. And right now, under attack from Pedersen, who takes off into air. See, that is the intensity of this race weekend. Might be the last, might be the end, but the way they fight, Peter, they're going to launch off. There's a reason why we're here at Sebring and we're doing stuff like this one. Used to be an airport, remember?
Yes, full send, taking off. Well, it's so intense that I've just thrown my cup of tea all over myself there. So I was never normally short of words, but that's certainly one way to do it. Throw a cup of tea in your eye. So Pascal Costa back on the recovery now, in 10th spot, and he's got to worry about Florian Lebiger behind him in the R8G Esports car. Of course, R8G Esports winner of the Porsche Cup category in the virtual VCO 24 Hours of Nürburgring about a month ago.
That's absolutely correct. And Quinton Violati, one of the leading stars of that, as Pedersen flies off. So I know the dampers have been softened, but have they been softened enough that they can handle something like that? Pedersen certainly might have felt the jitters after that.
They've been fitted with pogo sticks, because that was, goodness me, that was a big old two wheels up in the air moment. And oh, here we go. Pull the pin out the grenade and chuck it into the middle of this lot, because wow, it's getting very, very cozy indeed. And despite the door-to-door battling between Violati and Koiter, Tatsdalen can't escape, so maybe Koiter got a little bit more pace there. Ramstein now trying to make his move on Violati, and that is an extraordinary overtaking manoeuvre at Cunningham there from Maxim Ramstein. Around the outside at Cunningham, Soumil. That's just unheard of.
That's a bit daring from him right
Yeah.
there. I mean, he's found some newfound confidence all of a sudden, Maxim Ramstein. The moment he said to us, Peter, I'm not feeling the same level of race pace. After that, the race pace has just been in abundance.
He's got race pace and bravery in abundance. You'd very, very rarely see a move like that pulled off successfully, especially on someone as tough as Quentin Violati. So Maxim Ramstein, move of the day so far for the Corsom Racing driver. Of course, formerly of the HM Engineering parish, but now Corsom Racing as the drivers weave to break the toe, and Violati sends it up the inside again, going into Sunset Bend, the most difficult corner on the circuit, and you can see the cars pogoing around. There's bumps everywhere all over that part as well, and Violati, I don't know who he's flashing his lights at. He's maybe just hit the flash button by accident there, because that was frantic. Maxim Ramstein let Violati take the inside line and went into the kind of motocross berm that there is at Sunset Bend, gasses it up. They're still side by side. Who's going to break latest into turn 3? It's Violati.
How was there enough space at turn number 1 for that? Now, you might tell me that turn number 1 is so wide, but Ramstein almost hit the wall right there on the inside. Violati leaving him not an inch more than what was required. That was some amazing stuff. And that's only going to continue on as they fight for the grid slots. Quieted with a send to the outside line, but Tasdalen very astute in blocking off his lines, Peter.
Tasdalen's superb on the brakes. He actually was so much later on the brakes there than Coiter. I thought he was maybe not going to struggle to reach the apex, but he got it done. Yeah. Brilliant braking performance, and braking in these cars requires immense finesse. Not only is there no anti-lock braking system, that's nothing new. You'll get that on a GTE or GTLM car, that's fine, but these cars, because the engine, the 4-litre engine, it's a big engine, hung out over the back of the car, it's got a strange balance, so sometimes the rear of the car wants to kind of overtake you on the braking, and I would imagine, Soumil, these drivers will have the car set up very aggressively on a knife edge, so it won't be there to give you a cuddle. I tell you what, driving the new Porsche GT3R, which is the kind of bigger cousin of this car, or bigger brother of this car, it's like driving a sofa in comparison.
Yeah, this one's so on the edge all the time. That's the nature of the 911 GT3 Cup car. And even the new 992 may look bigger, but it's just as unpredictable. No ABS, no traction control, no aerodynamic devices per se, apart from that huge spoiler. So it's all on you as the driver, as the aggression from Tasdalen. It is going over the roof, and Coiter heads to the outside line. But I get a feeling he will be going for that big send here at turn number 1, Peter.
So 5 minutes and 43 seconds to go here at Sebring as they roar across the start-finish line. It will be, I think, 3 laps to go here. And there goes Violati again. He takes a big old dive on Coiter, and Coiter didn't expect it, and Coiter goes out wide and onto the grass. That was a pretty heavy contact there. I think that Violati may be just a little bit of a rub. And we did see Violati's car blink out once or twice. Now that can happen, folks, in virtual racing. We've got drivers all over the world. We've got Tasdalen, the Turkish driver, Violati from France, Ramstein from Holland, and we've got some drivers all the way down in Australia and New Zealand as well. So you do sometimes have these little discrepancies. It's Violati, that's a discrepancy. Oh my goodness me. Lunges up the inside, boof, and Tasdalen goes around. Coiter nearly collects him, and here goes Ramstein now. Goodness me, so we had 3 different leaders already. We're not even halfway around the lap, but Ramstein hits the front in the 29 car. What I was going to say, oh no, pause, here goes Violati again. Oh my goodness me, you can tell it's last day of school, Soumil.
Yeah. Everyone wants to go and trip the fire alarm on the final lane. This is what they're doing. That's the sin from Violati, and I'm not very sure on that one who swallowed. I mean, they're really going side by side at that stage. There's barely any room. You might go the Ayrton Senna line right here, but that was a bit crazy. Tasdalen is out for some reason, Peter. And that means that he's going to qualify right at the back. And interestingly enough, that's the same thing that happened at Suzuka the last time as well. Talk about having bad luck in those first qualifier races.
There's just, there is no luck there at all. I think maybe something else has happened on screen. Oh, he gets another barge straight into the wall there. It's one of the impulse cars, not sure which one. Dearie me. Well, it will be 2 to go when they come over the stripe here. Violati leads then from Ramstein. We've lost Coiter. Well, Coiter has dropped back to 4th, I should say more accurately. Nielsen up to 3rd. Where's he come from? He's just stealthed his way along here, as he always does, the Danish driver. And he's actually got Coiter on his case there as well. Now, I'll hopefully get a moment to mention that sometimes with just a tiny discrepancy in the internet connection, and sometimes the cars might look like they don't make contact, but if you get very, very close but not quite, it can still make a kind of ghost contact, or virtual aero wake it's sometimes referred to, or netcode as it's probably most commonly known as. And maybe one or two, maybe something going on with Violatti's internet connection, because the car has blinked once or twice. However, Soumil, you have to leave a margin in this type of racing.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that Fernando Alonso would say, with the most amount of aggression all the time, you have to leave the space. And let's just say it's not quite what Violatti does in his approach. He always goes for it 100%, backs his racing, backs his talent, but sometimes it does spill over, right? I mean, when you're going for that all or nothing approach, sometimes it will spill over, sometimes you will see incidents like the one we saw, but you've only got to put that behind you. You've only got to focus on your stuff and try and make the best of what you can do with your driving. Meanwhile, his teammate, well, he's leading quite a midfield pack, isn't he? Florian Lebigre, Michael Pedersen, Pascal Costa, and Brian Lockwood right there.
So Lockwood recovered once again. The bruised Lockwood valiantly charges on and shows that if he could get a rub of the green, he's got a championship winning race car there, but just cannot put it all together for many reasons out of his control. I've never quite seen a season where someone's been so unlucky, to be quite honest. And of course, coming back to Violatti, it is certainly all or nothing, but it wasn't just the contact with Tastelen, it was the contact with Coiter at turn 1 as well. So in half a lap, 6 corners has nerfed 2 people off. So that's not going to go down well. I wonder if the Simpower League stewards will take a look at those moments. They've been pretty ruthless so far this season, and if there's any argy-bargy that they feel is unnecessary, you'll get sent straight for a drive-through. So no, we haven't seen anything as yet, and Violatti leads. So we'll be coming on to, we're now on to the final lap. Barney the flagman giving it, we're going to use a Scottish term here, giving it laldy with the with the white flag, which means lots of movement basically, full attack. So will Ramstein get laldy here? Will he make a move on Violatti, or will Violatti get a pretty controversial race win?
I mean, it could be. Race control can add on penalties later on if they feel like there's a need to. They've been a few. I mean, what am I saying at this stage? There've been a few drive-through penalties here and there early on in the race so far because of all the incidents, but none in that battle that we saw at the top yet. But in the midfield, there's some excitement going on here.
I like your very deliberate use of "yet," Soumil. It's the perfect insurance policy.
We might need it. I didn't say it.
No, we might need it. We might need it, I think, as well. So the clock is about to elapse. We're on the final lap, and can Lebigre hang on? Well, we've got 2 very distinct groups here. Lebigre hanging on for 7th position. His teammate Violatti up the road, leading from Maxim Ramstein in the number 29 car. Can Ramstein get that win? At the moment, they will be on the front row. That will be your front row for the feature race. Violatti and Ramstein. So even if Ramstein doesn't get this one done, he'll be able to go for the points in the feature. Onto the Ulmann Straight they go, and Violatti's absolutely rocking and rolling down the Ulmann Straight. He's made a lot of moves into Sunset with a good run. He's maybe got quite good straight line speed on that race car. Maybe running a little bit less wing than his rivals. Ramstein goes in very deep, and I think that'll be it. It will. So the number 17 of Quentin Violatti for R8G Esports is your winner on the road. He flashes the lights. Ramstein a very close second, and your champion Kevin Nielsen silently comes through to 3rd position with not a mark on the car. Coiter in 4th after that bit of argy-bargy with Violatti, and Lebigre is going to hang on for 7th spot.
Some race right here, isn't it? Take a look at the battle right now as well. Henrik Lichtenhagen for the Panda Racing team on the outside line of Alexander Hetmag, but going a bit too wide eventually. I think he's lost that 15th position.
Wow, it's going on all the way down. It's going on up and down the paddock here. All 25 cars at such a hot pace. Getting the last few cars over the line right now. What an opening race here at Sebring as the pink Florida sky engulfs this beautiful racing circuit. And they always say, Soumil, what does it say? Pink sky at night, shepherd's delight. Racer's delight too.
Exactly. It's been crazy, right? Even the shepherds would come out here and say, yeah, I think this is quite a fun one to watch. Crazy. And there's just one more coming off for this one.
Yep, the final race of what has been a brilliant PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup season. PorscheSport.com, a huge thank you for their support of this series. Here are the results on screen. PorscheSport.com, the leading independent Porsche news site with exclusive features, interviews, and weekly podcasts with myself and my very glamorous co-host Hayley Edmonds as well, where we speak to the great and good of the Porsche racing world. And I can reveal that on Wednesday we are chatting to a current World Championship level Porsche factory driver as well. Not many of them, so I'll let you leave it up to your imagination who that might be. They've not been on before, if that gives a clue. So Quentin Violati confirmed as your winner then, with Maxim Ramstein second, Kevin Nielsen rounding out the podium. Sam Kuijtert was fourth, with Matthias Berg in fifth, followed by Senking Nsioglu, Florian Lebiger, Michael Pedersen, Pascal Costa and Brian Lockwood. Despite getting turned around at turn 3 early on in the race, fights his way back to the top 10. The fastest lap of the race, a 2-minute flat 0.9 for Sam Kuijtert. Soumil, a 2-minute flat in a Porsche Cup car around this circuit. I am flabbergasted by that speed from Sam Kuijtert. Mighty impressive.
I'm not going to compare the real world and sim that badly, but in the real world, 2 minute 2 is the lap record for the 992 GT3 car. But hey, even that aside, that is just a mind-blowing lap by Sam right there. And something tells me it's only going to get faster now, Peter, because here the intensity is going to be even bigger, because the feature race is where you get the major points, and there is quite a fun battle brewing up in that top 3 positions. Apart from Nielsen, there are quite a few major contenders for those top slots.
That there is, and it's also that last race of the season. It's such a big deal to get that last win under the belt. From a psychological point of view, no matter how bad or good your season has gone, if you go out on a win, it is so much more pleasurable and puts you in such a much better mood going into the next season. So the drivers at the moment just having a quick warm-up session before we go into the feature race here at Sebring International Raceway, a circuit where Porsche have had so much success. More outright wins than any manufacturer in history. 18 outright wins for Porsche. In fact, they really, through the late 70s and early 80s, they absolutely dominated this race. But would you believe, Soumil, that Derek Bell, Porsche legend, endurance racing legend, he never won Sebring? Can you believe that?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I didn't follow endurance racing as much, but that is... Derek Bell is crazy successful. So to see him not win at Sebring is a bit of a travesty, to be honest.
Incredible. I think it's the only achievement on his very impressive CV that's missing, that's for sure.
Well, he can make a comeback if he...
Oh yeah, come on Derek, come out of retirement. We'll get an LMDH with Derek and Jackie. Yes, that's what we want. So, on the front row of the grid, Quentin Violati, your race 1 winner, alongside Maxim Ramstein. Kevin Nielsen and Sam Kuijtert will be row 2, with Matthias Berg and Senk Nsioglu rounding out the 3rd row. Starting in 7th place today for the feature race here at Sebring will be Florian Lebiger alongside Michael Pedersen, with Pascal Costa and Brian Lockwood on the 5th row. Well, the drivers are very keen to get going. The lights are on the cars and on the starting gantry. Will be the revs rise and rattle off the limiter. Oh, and a very slow start there for one of the Volante cars, but not a slow start for our pole sitter Quentin Violati, with Kevin Nielsen up into 2nd position, and oh, it's a domino effect into turn 1s of many cars off. Oh my goodness me, it's chaos right at the back of the pack. Lost 3 or 4 cars, one of the Impulse guys off there too, but the leaders more or less through. So it's Violati, from Nielsen from Coitert.
That's the drama of turn number 1 in the PorscheSport Carrera Cup. Can be a bit too crazy at times. Violate leads quite well, and Nielsen sneakily has made up another position here as well. That's just what he does. That's just why he's won the championship eventually. Big send in the back there, and it gets a bit messy.
Oh, messy again, and oh no, Brian Lockwood off again. Oh, so another difficult start for the American. I feel like a broken record, but poor old Brian Lockwood keeps getting himself into these situations somehow, but Tasdalen really on the charge. Wow, where did he come from, Soumil?
Exactly. He's got a vengeance, this one, Gonzo Tasdalen.
Sorry, my apologies. That's my bad. Senk Insioglu, sorry. Identical car, different number. My bad. That's my fault. I led you up the path there, Soumil.
Oh yeah, I just missed it for a second as well. I was too immersed by the craziness of what's happening in the first lap that I got tagged along as well. But no worries about that one. Tell you what though, Tasdalen will be fighting back. I want to see where he is at the end of the first lap. There he is at the back of your shot. So somewhere around P13, 14 maybe you might expect him to see right there. So he's going to be fighting back. But first, quite a host of the big cars in the midfield to get behind. And those guys can be such a hard one to pass. Look at Tasdalen. Look at how hard he's having to work in the back there.
Getting confirmation that the incidents involving Quentin Violate will be reviewed after the race due to the fact of there is that suspected netcode involvement that requires a lot more close study. So great call actually there from the Simpower stewards, as always, I must say. So it's Violate from Nielsen from Coitert, and a bit of a 3-car breakaway already. They've got 1.2 seconds back to Florian Lebiger in 4th. So great start from Lebiger from 7th on the grid.
Absolutely. Florian Lebiger has been thereabouts in the midfield all the time this season, always showing some sort of edge to himself in terms of driving, always showing that he can win those big battles. And he's actually broken out of a really big one, so he can find himself in some clean air and close up and maybe add an extra dynamic to this top 4 battle, because Violate may just have a teammate who can assist him get higher up in the championship standings. Remember, Violate currently in P number 6 as it stands. A really good result, and Tasdalen not doing well can push him up to maybe P number 5 as well.
Also, I think for Quentin Violate, with the championship position is rightfully, Soumil, very important. But I think for Violate, if he was to sign off on a double win on a circuit like Sebring,
right,
I think he could go out of the he would be answering. I think he'd be answering a lot of critics with those 2 wins. We know he's got the pace. We know it. This guy's a VCO Nürburgring 24-hour class winner. He's very, very, very fast. Does get involved in some RG and indeed Bargy, but to sign off on 2 wins would really be quite special for the Frenchman. But he's going to have to dispose with the crown champion, Kevin Nielsen, in the number 3 car there, who's right on his engine cover there, which of course is at the back of the car, being a Porsche 911. But 26 minutes to go. We know that Nielsen is such a clever driver, Soumil. He's not going to make an unnecessary move. He's going to pick his moment now, though. But you can be sure that there will be that moment that he'll decide to pounce.
Ah, of course, that's Kevin Nielsen. That's exactly what he does, and he put out such courageous moves. Maxime Ramstein of all people right there, right? So Quentin Violate will certainly be feeling the pressure. He's not going to be trembling with fear, because he's a driver who's extremely capable of handling things off in his own way. But Nielsen, he's going to be the one saying, right, I'm the champion. What more can I do now? Can I upset everyone and go out there with this big win? Remember, winning 7 races already, Peter, this year, in all the heats included.
Yeah, mighty impressive from Nielsen, that is for sure. Sam Coitert, fastest lap of the race, a 2:01.410, so quite a bit off the ultimate pace that he said, about half a second off his fastest lap in race 1 for Coitert, but he'll be running a little bit more fuel. Of course, this is a 30-minute race, not a 20-minute race, so that will make quite a difference on the amount of fuel you've got to carry on board. These Porsche 911 Cup cars, that 4-litre flat 6 is a thirsty engine, so of course more fuel equals more weight, and that doesn't help with the lap time. As Lewis Ward trying to make a move there in the 197 car on Senk Insioglu. Now we looking for on the timing screen Gonzo Tasdalen from the back of the grid. of the 25 car pack, he's up to 14th position already. So Senkin Sioglu, Gononzo Tasdalen, Insioglu's teammate, is really on the move. And actually he's got a bit of a, goodness me, this is a high-profile battle for 12th place. Kamil Grabowski, Brian Lockwood and Gononzo Tasdalen. No Duff drivers in that group.
And you wouldn't normally expect to see them higher up. It's just things have happened right there, right? Things have happened between Grabowski and Lockwood in that first heat race that we saw right there. I hope they're able to keep it clean this time out, because these guys have been dueling out together between Lockwood and Grabowski, and they've produced quite some fun battles. But right now, it is Tasdalen who's got the hurry up button message from himself, and now he's pushing for it.
Yep, he's putting the afterburners on now, but he's going to need all of them to get past Brian Lockwood here in the 43 machine. Into turn one they go. Such a fast corner. Even in a car like this 911 GT3 Cup, which doesn't have enormous aerodynamics, you still are carrying so much speed through there. And there you go. There goes Tasdalen up the inside hard of Lockwood. Goes very, very deep on the brakes, and Lockwood is going to try and fight back. Tasdalen goes to the wide line, very clever, gets on the power early and defends from Lockwood. Now the drag race through Gurney Bend, down to, which is completely flat out, all the way down to the turn 7 hairpin. Now here at this very hairpin, this was when Stirling Moss, who was a great fan of travelling over to Sebring in the 1950s, during the 12-hour race he actually slowed down and was handed a bottle of Coca-Cola by a photographer, and he drank the bottle of Coca-Cola on the way around the next lap, and when he was finished with it he threw the empty bottle at the photographer on the way past and gave him a wave in true Stirling Moss fashion.
What a man Stirling Moss. That's the charm of old school racing, isn't it?
Very much so. I would have loved to be in that particular era. I remember a brilliant story of before the 1954 edition of the Sebring 12 Hours. So in the very early days, that would be the 3rd edition of the race. And Lancia, a letter came in from Giovanni Lancia to the organisers of Sebring, signalling his intention to bring not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 factory cars along to the Sebring 12 Hours. And he wouldn't just be hiring any old driver, he would have Ascari, Fangio, Castellotti and Taruffi. And this letter was received in the El Morocco nightclub in 54th Street in New York. And the organisers, Alec Ullman and Briggs Cunningham, were sitting there sipping vintage Dom Perignon and decided that this was very good news indeed. And a certain Porfio Rudy Rosa overheard this conversation going on, and he was very much the local round table playboy, and he said, oh, I'll have a go at that. And he actually went in to share with Fangio.
That just is such an outrageous story. I wonder where you pull those out from, Peter, seriously, because man, this is the kind of stuff that really fascinates you, right? Eventually, about the history of all the racing in the world. Just insane stuff.
My attention perked up with vintage Dom Perignon, you see. That's how you grab my attention, is booze. So, 10 minutes into this motor race...
That's how you get a Scotsman.
Yeah, exactly. You know the way the Scotsman's heart, booze. Yeah, absolutely. That is a stereotype for a reason, because it's true. Kevin Nielsen, another stereotype, a Scandinavian driver, absolutely calm under pressure. Why is it a stereotype? Because it's true. And you can see Violati really getting very, very wild there, asking for all the power. The car squats down, sliding around, and whoa! Into Tower Bend. Nearly Nielsen running into the back of Violati, but that's getting very spicy, that front battle right now.
No, it is going to be in this case, and Matthias Berg and Lewis Ward are also fighting off between each other, which is quite fun to see right now. Berg, by the way, your AM Championship leader for Volante Racing, comfortably in the lead from Marcel Jochheim, who's had a bit of a crazy weekend so far, let's just put it that way. So, Berg on his way to win the championship, as pointed out by Crispy on the chat. And Berg has just been superb all year, right? But to win against someone like Lewis Ward in that fight, someone who's been so intense in his competition of the AM Championship, would be a fitting finale if they just end up dueling with each other and end up seeing who's the big winner in this case right here.
Well, Matthias Berg in the position right now for Volante Racing, and look at the cars, all going up and down, going over Sebring, and a certain through Sunset Bend, a certain automotive online publication or site, who are probably renowned for, shall we say, clickbait, and they put out a story at the last Sebring 12 Hour to say, shouldn't it really be the time that Sebring is resurfaced? And I have never, ever, I have never seen so many drivers come out and shoot down a story on social media. And a lot of drivers were thinking, I was like, I didn't even realise they had social media. I didn't think they were the social media type. And they were told very much to go home and think of something better to say. Because this is what makes Sebring. No. That would just be like rubbing bogies on the Mona Lisa.
Oh,
which would get you arrested, I'm sure.
This sounds like a tragedy if that happened. Much like what's happened to Ram Steels here. I mean, in a sporting context, he's dropped down a few positions, but Sebring being resurfaced would be far, far worse than that one. Bad idea. We shall never discuss that ever on the surface of the earth again. But man, this crazy stuff, isn't it? This pack that we're getting to see right here. Now, how many times, Peter, have I mentioned the phrase all-star battle in the series this whole year? Just 10, 15 easily, I suppose?
I feel like somebody might be running a poll for how many times we say it. It's a lot. It's a lot of the time. With 80 minutes to go, I think Nielsen might pop out here and Violati spots it. Violati goes, ooh, better cover the inside line here coming into Sunset. And then, oh no, I'll just have the outside right at the last very moment as well. And
nice.
Nielsen does not flinch a millimetre. He says, you can do what you like. I'm going to pick my round. Look at the grip that Nielsen's able to find there and gets a great exit out of the final corner. Coitert's right on the bootlet as well, as they fire up towards turn one again. Violati leading, but Nielsen is really making himself very, very large in Violati's mirrors.
It's like Nielsen is comfortable. He's happy where he is in this stage. He knows that he's got no championship pressure. He's got nothing to worry about. The only thing he has to worry is, well, how do I have fun? How do I get past Quinton Violati? And that's something that really liberates you, right? Mentally, when you're in a sprint race like this one, you need to have your mind cleared off of any sorts of doubts or any sorts of worries per se. Violati might be having that, and Lockwood, well, his season is just ending in the worst possible way. Just have to quote what you said, Pete. If we could give him a hug at this stage, then we probably would.
We would. We definitely would. Oh, poor old Brian Lockwood. Don't know what happened there, just so we got the end of the incident. Brilliant work from our producer Tyler Maxson. Let's see, going for a bit of lunge up the inside there of Gononzo Tastelin, and another tangle. And that could well be, we were talking about those virtual aero wake or digital aero wakes, neck load, whatever you want to call them. It seemed quite a bizarre reaction there, just cannoned off the side of Tastelin's car. And speaking of cannoning, oh my goodness me, this is getting busy now. This is Burt Ward and Hetmank all piling in on top of each other, with Grabowski in there too.
This is going to be quite nice. All the AM Championship competitors going head to head, toe to toe. Matthias Berg, the champion en route, is being attacked by Kamil Grabowski right now, who's been quite the revelation this year, standing very high in the championship. But this particular pack, Peter, now they'll see the ground shake underneath them, because everyone will be going for a send. Everyone wants to prove their mission right here, to show everyone that, right, it may be the last round of the season, but man, I can go out there, I can carry some really good momentum into season number 3. And this is the chance where you see some really new competitors coming up there and showing some fun stuff.
I love you just laying that bit of bait out there, Soumil. Season 3? Did anyone say season 3?
I heard it.
It's like, let me just leave that one there. Just let that one linger for a minute. Brilliant. Well, why not? The racing has just been fantastic in this championship as well, and you've got some real all-star names. I mean, you've got, for example, in this race, the number 96 car, Kamil Grabowski. He's the ARA Porsche Cup champion, beat Pascal Costa to that title at VIR a month or two ago, and he's in 10th position and having to fight hard for it. And speaking of, Coiter goes through on Nielsen into the hairpin there as well. So Nielsen drops back. That gives Violati just a tiny bit of breathing space, but that might be short-lived because Koiter, he is really not gonna. He's gonna push hard, and he will throw everything at it. He'll risk crashing if he has to get onto the case of Violati and make a move.
Oh, this is going to be intense in a case like this one. What do you do if you're Sam Koiter now? You've got one position in, but next up is Violati. Do you want to go against him? Do you want to duel? Two drivers, probably the most aggressive drivers in this championship, going head-to-head against each other. Talk about having a good match. It'll be like Dustin Brown versus Roger Federer on the world of tennis. That's how crazy it'll be. Full of specific fun shots, trick shots of sorts, where they just go out there and make you realize that, man, these two guys are good at this racing thing.
The only thing that Roger Federer, he's the Porsche 911 of tennis players. Like, he's always been around and he's never going away, ever. And he's, as Tina Turner would say, simply the best.
Exactly, with some flair.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's got gold wheels on his. Just got a slight flash, just a subtle flash as well. Also, an ambassador for Jura coffee machines is Roger Federer. Brilliant bean to cup coffee machine as well. As Maxim Ranthing puts a move there on the number 7 car of Michael Pedersen. Now, is that the Michael Pedersen of Road to Indy fame? No, I'm thinking of Ben Pedersen. Sorry, too many Pedersens. Sorry, my apologies. As well, but he's certainly driving like Benjamin Pedersen, that's for sure. The Indy Lights driver, driving like him, really strong indeed. And Koiter has teared 0.2 of a second out of Violati since moving through, and there is no gap there. Just a couple of inches now between Violati and Koiter, and Nielsen just maybe a little bit spooked by what might have been. Was it a mistake? We don't know, but we certainly saw Koiter getting by him quite easily.
Yeah, exactly. I think Nielsen just sort of lost concentration or something quite like that. Could be potentially the case right here. Or maybe he just says like, yeah, I've had enough of my duels with Quinton Violati. Sam, I think you're the one left to go out there and have a fight with him. So why don't you go ahead? Why don't you give all the viewers a really good show right here? I mean, when we don't have the likes of Nazir and Lockwood right up there in those battles, it's good to see these names come up on the top and bring us exactly what the series has been all about. By the way, Ramstein is closing up, but, and it's a very interesting but here, this one, well, that didn't sound very right, but Fern Lebiger is very close to him, and that's a battle that I don't think we've ever seen so far, Peter.
No, I don't think we have. It's still about 7 seconds down the road from this leading trio who have just been imperious and more or less have held formation from the flag, apart from what we think might have been a little mistake for Nielsen or a big move in Koiter. And speaking of big move in Koiter, you just saw him just working at the wheel there, coming through the final curve at Sunset Bend, and Koiter really getting that car right on the edge, Harry King style, but still Violati defends. Violati has been by far and away his best meeting in his PorscheSport Carrera Cup career, I would say, Soumil, because he has had so much heat from behind and he has not let any of it get to him.
He's on a mission, Peter. He wants to remind everyone who he really is at the circuit. Violati going for it, and the same can be said for all the guys at the back right there. I want to see what Lewis Ward can do. He's been showing flashes of some real brilliance this year, but again, being taken out here and there once in a while. So, in this battle, when the pressure is, honestly, the highest in the entire field, that is when you see the real gems being made out. Here, they are in that very situation. Only 10 more minutes to go. Where do we go with this one right here?
Great message here from Joshua Miller in our chat here on RaceSpot TV saying, came here thinking it was real racing. It's just iRacing, but it's still good for me. You're absolutely right, Joshua. This is all of the drivers at home with their own very realistic simulation rigs with pedals and wheels, just like you would drive a real car. And the detail of this iRacing service, absolutely amazing. And as you can see, of course, Soumil, the racing is absolutely real. Wow, look at that, the number 5 of Gononzo Tastel and making a move there at Tower Bend, and that's narrow in there, but sends it up the inside. Brilliant stuff.
That is quite a good one. Now what about Tasdale, and how does he respond to something like this one? Momentum clearly not on his side by any means whatsoever. can he keep himself controlled? Can he keep himself in the right frame of mind and bounce back? Because that's not how you want to end your season, especially if you're someone right up there in P5 in the championship. Violette is going to get that jump, you know.
Well, we're going to see. We're going to see. Should be about 5 laps to go as they go over the start-finish line. 9.5 minutes on the clock. Over. It's obviously quite an old scan of the Sebring International Raceway, because there's a Panos logo on the start-finish line. Of course, named after the great Don Panos, who bought the Road Atlanta circuit back in 1996 and turned it into the amazing facility it is today. And then Coiter just has the biggest look yet on Violati, but Violati shuts the doors. Oh, one of the Volante cars reversing back onto the circuit. I think that's Michael Pedersen. Saying it slowly. Yes, it was. Just gone off as Michael Pedersen. That's a pity, because he was going really strong. When, not if, when is Coiter going to try his move? He's so close. Thought he was going to dive in there at turn 3. The move is coming, but where is he going to pounce? That's the question. Is he going to have a go into sunset? Thing is, though, Soumil, that car of that number 17 car of Quentin Violati, it's so fast down the straight. He's obviously running a little bit less wing than his competitors.
Yeah, exactly. And it works out well for him, because he carries all this speed in the corners, and Pedersen's run, well, it just comes to an end at the grass here at Sebring. No track limits nonsense here at Sebring, right? You get pushed wide, you get hit hard. And for Pedersen, such a shame to see him right there. He's doing such a good job throughout the race weekend.
You break track limits, you break your car, is the rule at Sebring, more or less. If you go off, you're not going to be worried about track limits. My word, it punishes you if you get it wrong. But every effort, since its every inception in 1952, constant efforts to keep the circuit safe and keep it preserved in its character as well. And here goes Coiter. Oh, he touches Violati and nerfs him. Oh my goodness me, they tangle. Violati's off, Coiter's flashing his lights. Well, Kevin Nielsen's going, Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday, Happy New Year to me, your crown prince of PorscheSport Carrera Cup. He is the champion. He sealed that up last time out at Suzuka, and he now has a 4.5 second advantage with 7 minutes to go. How do you call this one, Soumil? We're already well in, and they're both flashing their lights at each other. So what do you think, Soumil?
Still have to digest it for a second. Just missing his braking marker. A bit unusual to what Sam Coiter usually drives like, but stuff happens. I mean, Violati has had incidents like this one. Coiter also having another one. But seriously, if you're Nielsen, that tactic has just paid off. They're like, okay, you guys can have your fight. I'm totally alright where I am. Look at how it's worked out well for him. And a lovely onboard camera from our producer and expert racing driver Tyler Maxson. Just the silence Peter after the crash. It symbolizes it. Just the despair at the end of it for them. Well,
do you know what? I think there'll be two very different opinions of how that accident happened, and you can be sure that Quentin Violati and Sam Coiter will have very much the opposite ends of opinion on that one. They will both point the finger at one another, and well, who's right, who's wrong? What do you think? Let us know in the comments here on RaceSpot TV. Regardless of fault or anything like that, it's not necessarily important, Soumil, at this stage, because that has really robbed a kind of Hollywood finish now. It's 5 seconds back now to Violati, who's recovered into second. Ramsey now up to third. I think Coiter's still running. He's in 8th. So Coiter definitely come off worse from that, but I think it was the win or nothing for those guys. And Nielsen, he's played this the smartest.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a bit of a shame to end the season in this way when we've got all our top drivers just wiping off amidst each other. But isn't that symbolic, Peter? Isn't that kind of what the whole season has been like? Everyone has been there or thereabout. Eventually, Ramstein is always right there with Kevin Nielsen, but not really completely up there in terms of all the consistency, which seems a bit odd to say because Ramstein literally is the most consistent driver I've come across. Yeah. Everyone has incidents. Coiter has one, Lockwood has one, Castellan has one, Violante has one, and it's Kevin Nielsen who ends up winning. I think it just symbolises the whole season that we've seen so far.
Couldn't agree more. I think that's a fantastic analysis of it. Each driver playing to their strengths, and I always think Kevin Nielsen's kind of like Maxim Ramstein 2.0. Takes
Exactly.
the Maxim Ramstein ethos and takes it even another step ahead, which is a mighty step to take, because Maxim Ramstein, the Dutchman, is such a good driver. Of course, races at the World Championship level for Course Sim Racing, races in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, and has been a part of this championship since day one, with some brilliant battles against some brilliant battles in season one against Alexander Teeb, the world's fastest physiotherapist. So 4 minutes to go then. Although Nielsen is very much away and clear at the front, Ramstein is actually closing down on Violati, actually.
Which is going to be very, very true. Remember Nürburgring? What happened right there? Violati and Ramstein having that sort of incident amidst each other at the final lap. That, let's just say, caused a few controversies in the world of the Simpower PorscheSport Carrera Cup right here. So I hope this one ends cleanly. But on the whole, Peter, if you had to speak about Team Racecraft Esports, how would you sum it up for them? It's been so tumultuous, right? Bringing on the strength in numbers. Some race weekends, they're just the ones right there. They're the ones dominating. But it's such a shame, right? There's so much pace right there. Just incidents happening left, right, and centre now. Coiter is being passed by Alexander Hetmank.
I think for Racecraft, it's a story of what might have been. And you know what? Next season, if they come back with the same drivers and the same cars, and with the same pace, they'll be competing for the championship. No question about it. Coiter, Lockwood, Kane Halliburton, all rapid drivers. It just
Harwood
needs
as
to
well.
go. Yes, Harwood, my apologies. Yes, it just all just needs to click and go their way. And the racing gods, they can be so kind, but goodness me, they can be cruel as well.
Yeah, exactly. Just, I mean, how do you put it apart from bad luck, right? And some might say, okay, you put yourself in a situation where you are susceptible to that bad luck, so don't be in the midfield. But yeah, sometimes stuff just happens, right? That's the best way to put it. I hope they return next year, because they've been so much fun to watch, as with Team Anatolia, and hopefully with more teams as well. But right now, Team Anatolia are giving us quite a show right now. In Shioglu having to defend from Kamil Grabowski, and Grabowski has been amazing this year. He's just been the revelation of the season so far, much like Coit did last year, I would say.
Well, I'm going to make a call out for one driver to come and join us at least next year, and that is, or next season, that is Jacob Toft, the Porsche Club of Great Britain champion. Is absolutely imperious in that championship in the season just finished. Races for PorscheSport.com esports, and absolutely exceptional young driver, a really mature head on his shoulders as well, and love to see how Jacob would square up against these drivers, because this is the cream of the crop of the sim racing world.
Really. And the format just always ends up delivering, right, in the end. It's such a fun one. Yeah, let's see what happens next time. Already buzzing for that one, but still some interesting battles going on. And have you noticed, Peter, the draft just seems to be not in effect as much, and of course that's in part down to the iRacing updates, but slowly and steadily iRacing are actually cutting down the draft on the GT3 Cup car, so that's becoming a bit of a common sight these days. So to really make your moves, you've got to be faster where it really matters the most, the corners.
Yeah, this is much more, I would say this is far more realistic to how the real cars would behave. You see in the real world, the only championship now where the 991 specification, which is this one on screen, is running, is in the Carrera Cup Great Britain. The rest are onto the new 992 Cup car, which aerodynamically behaves in quite a similar way, even though it has more. It's more of everything. More lightness, as Colin Chapman would say. A big rear diffuser on it as well. It's got a wider track. It's on a completely different body. Actually, it's a turbo body, more power and everything. So it's a different beast, the 992, but it races in quite a similar way as well. So yes, I think the iRacing put it much closer. Before there was a point at the turn of the coming into 2021 where the car, it was honestly like Talladega plate racing for a while, where this draft was just unbelievably strong, and it was good that it was just turned back a little bit. But that's what makes iRacing such an impressive product, is that it's continuously improved all the time. Every 12 weeks we get a really big update.
Which is what brings you the racing like we are seeing right now. Constant upgrades. And keeps everyone on the edge, right? To see drivers constantly having to adapt to stuff like that one. I think that's what I really like about iRacing, where we're constantly having those sorts of changes. Final lap, though, these guys have caught up. They're going to give us a good ending to the season, Peter. All hope might not be lost.
Well, Kevin Nielsen is away up the road. He's going to win this race if he can negotiate sunset for the final time of this season. Look at Violati going very, very defensive right onto the dirt at the wall. Make sure there's absolutely no way for Ramstein to go up the inside. And it looks like he is going to hang on, but Ramstein tucks up early. Violati gets on the power a little bit early. It's going to be a drag race to the stripe. Is it going to be Violati? Is it going to be Ramstein? It's just going to be Violati, I think. Yes, it is, for second spot. So despite that incident, Violati still comes home in second, so a win and a second place for him. But Kevin Nielsen is your PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup champion and your winner of the feature race here at Sebring. A thoroughly deserved champion, and he tortures those Michelins into a cloud of smoke.
Oh man, so well deserved for Kevin Nielsen. That's the way he won the season, the same way he won this race. It literally symbolizes the whole season, what we saw here today. And yeah, on some racecraft cars, some broken mirrors as well. But next year, I think it's going to be so much fun. Seeing Nielsen, seeing Tasdalen, seeing the racecraft guys, everyone come together. This year was a treat. Seeing Ramstein there as well. Imagine what's going to happen when you turn it up a notch. But deservingly, we have one champion. What a driver Kevin Nielsen has been.
He certainly has, and he wins by 6.6 seconds from Quentin Violati, with Maxim Ramstein just missing out by 600ths of a second on that drag race to the line, that gets yet another podium to add to his very impressive tally of PorscheSport Carrera Cup podiums. Florian Lebiger was fourth, with Senk Insioglu rounding out the top five. Kamil Grabowski in sixth, and Sam Koiter came down so close to the win there, but that little clash with Violati pushed him back. Still gets the fastest lap though, a 2:01.4 for the Dutchman. Alexander Hetmank was 8th, followed by Gononzo Tasdalen, and Lewis Ward rounds out your top 10. Finishing in 11th was your Clash champion Matthias Berg, alongside Marcel Jochheim in 12th. Justin Rem was 13th, Michael Pedersen 14th, and Marco Jaeger rounds out the top 15. Thomas Gildelion was 16th, followed by Nick Harwood, Jaime Fierro, Henrik Leutenhagen, and Martin Donati rounding out the top 20. The last few drivers then: Clement Andriot, Martin Spalek, Brian Lockwood, and Pascal Costa round out our 24 starters for the final race of this PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup season. And just like that, I don't know where that came from. Soumil, we're under darkness here at Soumil after, well, a brilliant end to what has been a brilliant season.
Yeah, such a shame though that the season has ended. Hard not to think about that one. It's been an amazing year, but almost symbolically, again, I've used that word again many times, but the sun has set over the season, and quite an end to this eventually. Some drama here today, and that's just how the series is like eventually. But what a fun time we've had eventually. It's just been so much fun.
It really has been a pleasure to bring you all the action here on the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup, live here on RaceSpot TV. It's been a wonderful spectacle, and well, we have one of our key protagonists from the title chase, Maxim Ramstein, going to join us in the commentary box, and Soumil, I will hand you over to the ever consistent Mr. Maxim Ramstein.
Maxime, mate, do you have a copy?
Yeah, I gotcha.
How's it going, mate? Quite a race today, let's just put it that way.
Yeah, that was quite a race, indeed. It did not go very smoothly at all. But yeah, I came today with one goal, and that was to get P2 in the championship, and I think that worked. I haven't done the math, but it should be there. So yeah, I'm still happy.
And so much deserved, right? Your consistency all season was just amazing. Now, I know it's the same thing that happened last year as well, but how do you do it? How do you end up being so consistent throughout the season?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. It's just try and practice and put in effort. But yeah, today I was driving more with my mind than just trying to get to the front because I knew I only needed certain points. I needed to finish ahead of Sam. That was the main thing because he was up there as well. So, and especially the battling with Quentin in the first race, I was like, okay, you take this win. You're not in the championship fight, so go ahead. So I was that helps, that kind of attitude, not the always going for it attitude.
Yeah. And the pressure might be taken off in the final race, just easing off a little bit. Quite a fun way to end the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a good race. I was struggling a little bit with the car because iRacing they updated the dampers and stuff. It feels different, and I haven't had a lot of time to prepare, so it was a little bit awkward at times. But yeah, Sebring is just a great track. So many corners you can go side by side, and it also happened. So yeah, still having a good time, and to end the season in P2, I'm very happy.
Great driving all year round, mate. Two questions before we round off. Firstly, who would you like to thank for the season? And secondly, you have to be back next year, haven't you? I mean, this season was just amazing. It'll be so much fun to see you here next year as well. So, will you be here next year?
Yeah, I have to thank my team, of course, Sim Racing, and you guys for commentating. I really enjoyed watching the races back, so that's also great. And the organizers, super solid organizing, great stewarding as well. Even though I was on the receiving end of some penalties, I still accept that, and it was actually the right call. So yeah, thanks to all those guys. And yeah, next season it's 2 seasons in a row P2, so it can only be one place next season, right?
That's the spirit, Maxime. Such a pleasure to speak to you always, mate. Many thanks for taking the time to come here and have a word with us. All the best, man. Great driving this year, honestly.
Yeah, cheers, guys. See you guys.
I love that fighting spirit from Maxim Ramstein. He will be back,
Same.
and another driver who it must be so tough to race against because he is never away from the front. Well, I'm delighted to say we have our champion and our race winner here at Sebring, Kevin Nielsen, in the number 3 car. He's been the star of the show in this PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup. Kevin Nielsen, welcome to the RaceSpot TV commentary box. You really have signed off this season in style.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it was a pretty good season.
That's the understatement of the day, Kevin. That's for sure. I mean, tell us about that race out there at Sebring in the feature race. It was you're leading earlier on and then dipped behind Sam. What happened there down at the hairpin?
Yeah, it's just a mistake. Locked up a little bit, and then I didn't want to fight with Sam, so I just let him by, and yeah, so we could still hang on Quinton. Yeah.
And speaking of Quentin and Sam getting together, what were your thoughts from the cockpit there? Were you just trying to spot the apex and get by? I mean, tell us about your view from the cockpit in that incident.
Yeah, it was pretty lucky from my side. Of course, I will have enjoyed to fight with those to the end, but yeah, I just focused on braking a bit earlier than usual, not to get into him because I knew I had a big gap to Maxime. So yeah, I was just taking it easy.
Now, Kevin, it always amazes me is that how many fantastic sports car drivers come from Denmark. What is the secret? What is it that you guys eat that makes you all so fast?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we have a lot of quick guys for sure in racing for a small country. But yeah, I don't know what we eat. Danish food, I guess.
You'll need to send me some recipes. I want the recipe. I want to drive like Michael Christensen or you. Yeah, either or. Well, Kevin, you have just been superb all season. It's been a privilege for Soumil and I to call your races. You've been so impressive from day one at Mid Ohio. I'm sure you got a lot of people you want to thank for and mention after this championship win. Now's your chance.
Yeah. I will thank my mom and dad, of course. For helping me with the sim, and I want to thank Racecraft for letting me practice with them. It has definitely helped a bit, not just a bit, a lot actually, with setup work and also just racing side by side. It's definitely helped a lot working with those guys. So I want to give a big shout out to them.
Does that mean we're going to see you in black and gold sometime soon?
Maybe, we don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Another Danish trait, never giving anything away. Brilliant. Kevin, congratulations on a super championship win in such a competitive field. Go and enjoy it.
Thank you, mate.
So that was our champion, Kevin Nielsen. We've got time for one more interview, and Soumil Arora is going to have a chat with Brian Lockwood.
Brian, have you got a copy on me, mate? Can you hear me?
Hey, yes, I do.
Brian, firstly, let's speak about the whole team. I think that'll be the first thing we have to speak about. And on the whole, I would say, quite a good year. You guys came up with numbers towards the end of the last season, now finally bringing in 2 efforts. 4 cars, by the way, that is. I think on the whole, there were some really good signs for Racecraft as an outfit, and you being the leader of it, I think that must make you feel quite a fair bit happy at the end.
Absolutely. The PorscheSport Carrera Cup has been a really good environment for all of the team to continue to grow and develop as drivers. For some of us, we've had really strong results. For others, haven't got so lucky, but it really highlighted some of our strengths and weaknesses and where we can continue working and continue moving forward. So, yeah, there's been a lot learned, which is definitely the takeaway. And along with that, Sam got his first big SOF win. Of course, we've had strong showings, and we've also been working with Kevin lately, who's been just dominating. So yeah. Congratulations to those guys, and very happy with the season.
And what about you, Brian? Let's just be honest, it's honestly been so chaotic for you, all that bad luck at the top as well. Lots of chaos here this weekend too as well. Are you really enjoying it as much in terms of driving? Because certainly there were many moments where it seemed like, wow, this is amazing battling. This is all the stuff that we all love to watch, but then it just ends up in the wrong way most of the time, sadly.
Yeah, I wouldn't call what I've experienced lately amazing battling for the most part. I have been enjoying it more personally though, and what's funny is I've been enjoying practicing and driving with the team more than actually racing because it ends up being so chaotic so much of the time. And of course that'll change once the luck turns around. But iRacing's released some really cool new updates. We've been having fun with the Dallara IRO1, the new Porsche GT3. So yeah, there's been plenty to work on and plenty to enjoy.
Which very much leads me to my next question. What's next for you and the team, Ryan?
That's a good question. We are looking forward to the World Championship qualifiers for the IRO1 series. Of course, we're also focused on the Porsche Cup, the Porsche Super Cup. So when qualifiers come around for those, that's going to be a big focus. Aside from that, just continuing to find environments to push ourselves and learn and grow, expose where we're strong, where we're weak, and keep hammering away at it.
No, that's so good to hear. And finally, mate, who would you like to thank for this season?
Oh, just thanks to everybody at Racecraft. Kane worked really hard. Unfortunately, didn't have many good results. Swolio was on board for a few races. Was great to have on the team. Nick worked really hard, especially for the last couple of races. Did great. Of course, Sam. An incredible season for him. Really, I think it's been a breakout season. And thanks to Kevin as well, who worked together with us for last few races, and that really pushed us forward too. And finally, thanks to PorscheSport and Simpower for putting on the series and giving us the space to work.
So good to hear, Brian. I hope to see you next year. It's always a pleasure watching you drive, watching you race. See you around, mate. That was good fun.
Thanks, Soumil. See you soon.
Well, that was Brian Lockwood there joining us and giving us some insight into how the Racecraft operation works, and hopefully we'll see them back again. And I have to say, that was one that slipped past me, Soumil, that Kevin Nielsen practicing with the Racecraft guys.
Yeah, he mentioned it last time out at Suzuka, so they were working together, trying to work out as a team. So I asked him what's it like to work as a privateer. He said it wasn't really completely like a privateer because he got the racecraft drivers right there working with him, and it's good to see, right? Good to see teams and drivers collaborating, working together. Again, who knows which way it might go next year, but yeah, I think it's good to see teams and drivers coming forward and helping out each other in that aspect.
I love it. Gave me an opportunity to ask a really cheeky question to Kevin as well, and he gave me a very professional answer, which is very good. Maybe we'll see him in black and gold. That would be pretty cool. Well, that is all we have time for here on RaceSpot TV for the final round of the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup. It's been a wonderful season, and hopefully we'll see you again for another one before too long. On behalf of my broadcast partner, Soumil, Arora, and myself, Peter MacKay, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.